Hi, my name is Stephanie Anderson, and I am a foodie for Jesus. The title of today's podcast is Kick Your Ball, but you may have noticed that ball is spelled Baal. That is not a typo. Let me repeat, that is not a typo. That is exactly how I intended to spell it. Because I'm not referring to a ball as in like the round object that's fun to play games with. I'm referring to Baal as in the false gods in the Bible. So many places in the Old Testament, there's references to Baal as a god of the Canaanites, a god in the Old Testament, a god with a little g that was served, and it very much was really focused around idolatry as well. So there were different types of balls that you could be worshiping. So there was, for example, a ball of wisdom. There was a military ball. There was a health and wealth ball, and apparently the supreme ball of them all was the rain ball. And it became very common, and this idea of idolatry and it how it relates to food is that in a way food for me in many ways has been my ball of choice, has been that thing that I have made the the idol or the focal point, or it may be the health aspect of it as well, right? Is that want that that desire for health and that desire for you know eating properly, or that desire to binge out on junk food, right? All of those things have been my idol, my ball. Sounds kind of awkward. That has been my ball for so long. What really grabbed my attention as I've been studying this is something new. So I've always felt that idolatry, right? And that thing that has been getting in my way, or that I've turned to instead of the Lord. So anything that gets in the way of that direct path to the Lord, of that direct worship, if anything that gets in the way of God being our source of joy, our source of compassion, our source of love, our go-to for everything, could be considered an idol. And so food for me, I could name other things as well. Even things that can seem very, very good, like family and my husband, my marriage, my kids, all these things, they could be put first, when I really should be turning to the Lord. Because if we're turning to things that are of this world, they're going to let us down. If we turn to things that are creations of the things that God created rather than God Himself, that's going to let us down. So, what I found to be particularly fascinating as I've been digging into this is that, I've kind of thought of this as sort of like an either or thing. And, okay, I've got this idol or I've got God, and I'm kind of choosing between them. But what I've realized, and this is what happened in the Old Testament, if you dig into some of the areas in First Kings, for example, there's this big showdown between Elijah and King Ahab. And it was really, God, our God of the universe, proving He is God of the universe against all these Baal gods. Um, and what I found was really fascinating, though, is that many of these people who even claim to be, believers of the one true God, of Yahweh, were at the same time embracing some of these Baal gods, right? That they were trying to kind of do both. And I felt very convicted when I read that, because I feel like in some ways I've tried to do both, right? I, want to spend time in the Word and really put this priority on my Christian faith. But at the same time, I'm still trying to juggle having these other things in my life, particularly, related to food, that being an issue, still having this focus on food. Even in this, even though I would say that I'm transforming, and even my struggles with food are transforming as well, from being, more of this kind of what had been this crazy out of control, eating and binging and just feeling like I couldn't handle it, or that was my, that was the thing. I just like the way that, fill in the blank of any other addiction. If someone were an alcoholic, how they would get around alcohol. Someone who's a drug addict, they get one little hit and they just can't stop. Like that's how I was with food. So while that extreme example, while I have to be careful that it is a slippery slope, that I don't go down that path, while I haven't been experiencing those extreme behaviors and temptations, food is still there. And there's some cases where it's like, it's maybe an obsession in a different way, as in like obsessed about just making sure to be eating all these healthy things, or, still in a different spot. It's kind of transformed the type of idol that it is, but it still can be an idol. So I have to be very, very cautious of that with food. But in terms of this, what was going on in the Old Testament, and these people that were saying they believed in the one true God, but yet they still were embracing some of these Baal god, little g gods, at the same time, has been convicting to me, because God needs to be up here, like top, front and center of everything. And that all these other things, no, they're not at all at the same level. But I find that sometimes, like if I look at where I'm spending my time, where my mind is spending its time, what it's thinking about, I may not be obsessing about food in the way that I had been before, but maybe now I'm still obsessing about it in a way of like, oh, well, am I eating the right things so that I'm fueled correctly for my run? Or am I like still so excited about a certain meal or certain things? Like, are those things consuming my thoughts, when really I want to be having that excitement, that enthusiasm about the Lord? I want to be like, oh wow, like this is amazing. Like right now, as I'm recording this, I can look out the window and there's these beautiful fall colors and it's just amazing. Like I want to get excited about that. Like the God of the universe, who I have a personal relationship with, that created all that beauty, and just soaking that in, and like just that joy, and that just how amazing that is. Like that's where I want to be spending my energy, my time, my thoughts. And if someone were to be able to make like a pie chart of where my thoughts are focused, would the biggest piece of that pie, the majority of that pie, be related to, this obsession, this desire, this longing for the Lord, and this longing to be obedient to the Lord, and longing to spend time with the Lord? Probably not. To be completely transparent and honest about that, I would like to say yes, but that's probably not the case. And there are things where I'm trying to, like the people in the Old Testament, trying to have God in first place and say that He's in first place, but at the same time, these other things that I'm trying to, balance at the same time. Could name a few things that could be considered hard for me to say, that could be considered my Baal gods. It could be things related to work. It could be things related to my family, trying to be the best wife I can be, the best mother I can be, and wanting to fit this image of being this person who I want to be, and all these other motivators and all these other things, when I really can just need to simplify it, and there just needs to be one. And if that one true focus is in place, everything else will be as well. So if you're like me and kind of challenging yourself, and as you're, I want to encourage you to dig into the Bible, like read up on, turn to 1 Kings, read up on this, do you feel like you're, maybe you're a believer and you feel like, yeah, there are some things that might be competing, that might be kind of your ball. There might be a ball that you need to kick, or maybe more than one of them. Or maybe you're not a believer yet, and maybe you're still just kind of consumed with these other things that could be considered, a different ball, right? So whatever it is, I just want to challenge you to really, what are some actions you can take? What are some things that you can do to really make the one true God the one true God? Keep God in that very high top driver's position in your life. So the verse I would like to close with related to that, it's such a strong reminder. John 14:6. Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. It makes it clear. One way, one God. And that's what we need to focus on. Thank you so much for joining today. I look forward to next time.